Lock the gates. Are we doing this? We're doing this. Hello, welcome. I'm figuring out mic placement and stuff. I have found that usually when I say lock the gates, it's way too loud. Today, I'm interviewing candidate for Lieutenant Governor of California, Oliver Ma. I've seen Oliver's videos on my TikTok and seems like a good guy. He's pro-Palestine, he's pro-immigrant, just wants to help freaking people live and afford stuff. God forbid, right? He's running a campaign using only small donations from real people, no corporate donors. So he's allowed to say whatever the hell he wants and, doesn't have to be like, you know what? We should have more data centers. We should have more fracking. Oh, we should send more bombs overseas. When a politician talks like that, you know that they have either taken donations from creeps or they've bought stocks in like weapons manufacturing or oil companies or what have you. So I'm excited that there's like more people nowadays that just run on small donations. And you know what? Controversial take. Probably wouldn't be possible without social media, right? As much as social media is a hellscape, it's awesome that people like Oliver can get campaign videos out there for free and just regular schmegular people can Google him and then click some buttons and start volunteering or donating to him. That rocks. Oliver came down to LA and he met with the Hispanic Democratic Club of Los Angeles, and then he came over to Drew Spears Studios to do this episode with us, and then he had a meeting with Los Angeles DSA, and I'm sure he met with a whole bunch of people that weekend. So we're so lucky that he talked with us. Oliver, please win, and please do not have any scandals, because I can't have a scandalous person on my YouTube. On the other hand, maybe it'd be good to have some scandal, get some more views. I feel like the caliber of guests we've had on the show is so strong, and this is just a baby YouTube channel. We need more subscribers. We need way more subscribers so that the videos get pushed out in the algorithm more and people can get exposed to good conversations with good people instead of stupid crap. So if you could please help by subscribing on YouTube or telling your friends, sharing, liking. If you'd like to help, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, I should probably just keep this intro short because Oliver's running for office and we want people to learn more about his platform, and I don't really need to be rambling about like, oh, my lease is ending soon. What if I did van life? Like, I think that could be funny to talk about, but maybe I'll do that on a later episode, where the guest is a comedian and not someone running for office. With no further ado, here's my conversation with Oliver Ma.
Hello and welcome to the Mary Houlihan Show. Today we have esteemed guest, Oliver Ma. Yeah. Oh yeah, you gotta hold the mic, Oliver.
Okay. This is fancy.
So Oliver, you are running for Lieutenant Governor of California.
Yes.
I'm gonna come clean. I don't know what a lieutenant governor does.
Not a lot of people do.
So what do they do?
So the lieutenant governor does a few things. They are president of the California State Senate, where they can push through and co-sponsor legislation. They sit on the UC Board of Regents. And as we know, the UCs have been pretty bad recently, pretty naughty. And they also sit on the California Commission of Economic Development. So those are some of their functions, and we have a lot of plans for those functions.
Nice, cool. I found you on TikTok. you were coming up on my For You page multiple times, and I was like, this guy's cool. And I noticed you're one of the few, but growing number of people running for office or in office who are willing to be vocal about Palestine.
Yeah.
So tell me about that, because I saw in one of your videos you were talking about how running for office, so often you get the advice like, don't even talk about it. It's too divisive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So when we get Trumpers who tell us, don't talk about Palestine, it's like, okay, we get it. Like, you don't care. That's okay. But what really hurts is when progressives do the same thing, and they are genuinely doing it in a way that they're trying to help. They're saying, don't talk about it. It's too divisive. It's you'll lose donors. It's not a California issue. And I think all of those arguments are so false, because I'm a civil rights lawyer, and I worked on the immigration raids that were happening throughout California recently. And just seeing the way that Israeli technology has been used to round up our immigrant communities and to break apart families has really shown me the parallels between the two, looking at the rhetoric, the colonization and the state enacting violence on people of color has shown me a lot of parallels. And then, of course, the state of California has billions of dollars invested in companies that profit from genocide and apartheid. And so it is absolutely a California issue. And the fact that there is a lot of money and power on the other side that is pressuring us to shut up is precisely why we need to talk about Palestine.
I think, like, so many people say it's divisive, and I really don't think it is. I feel like when people say that, it seems like they're out of touch to me. I work in comedy. I've had jobs in the media. And I notice a lot of people, like, in the media class, they think it's divisive. They're like, be careful. But when I talk to, like, hairdressers, food service workers, hospitality workers, bartenders, like regular schmegular people, they're vocal about Palestine, and they hate that their tax dollars are going to it. And I feel like there's, like, a disconnect between regular people and people that are getting funded by these places that don't want you to talk about it.
It's divisive between regular people and the powerful people who are getting paid by this lobby, right? And it's honestly the best investment probably in the history of investments, where AIPAC gets to invest, I think, 50 million to 100 million into our politics, invest us, and they're corrupting our politicians, which is it's a lot of money, 50 to 100 million dollars. But then they get $20 billion back for the state of Israel. That's a rate of return of, I don't know, a big number.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who just, like, aren't educated about it, they just kind of think like, well, I don't know, aren't they like an ally of ours? But it's like, we have other allies, and we're not sending tons of Congress people to go and, like, do tours of England or France or whatever.
Yeah, and we're not sending our Congress people. They are not spending all of this amount of money. And I feel like if those other countries spent that amount of money, let's say, people always ask, right, why don't you talk about the Sudan? Why don't you talk about these other humanitarian crises that are happening around the world, maybe other genocides? And we should talk about those things. But I think the vigor at which we're talking about Palestine is important, because Sudan is not spending $50 million bribing our politicians and getting billions of dollars back, right? China is not doing the same thing. And if Sudan or China did, then we should be equally vocal about it. Another way that we have been faced pushback about this issue is people saying, well, you're being unfair to Jews, you're being anti-Semitic. And it really is not about that for us. If any group were being eliminated in the way that the Palestinian people are, we owe it to that group to be equally vocal. If the Jews were under attack, the way that Palestinians are right now in Gaza, then we should be equally vocal about that.
Yeah, and this is another thing that I feel like what the media says is so different than the reality. I grew up in the New York metro area. It is the most Jewish place in the world, really. Like, most of my friends are Jewish, and they are all anti-Zionist. And some of them, like, maybe their parents or their grandparents are like, what are you, you know, it's almost like a lot of like white people have the thing of like the dad or the grandpa loves Trump and the kids hate Trump. Like, I see that dynamic happening in a lot of like Reformed Jewish families. Like, the Gen Z and millennials hate that our tax dollars are going towards this, but maybe the parents or the grandparents, the boomer generation, they're like, shut up, don't talk about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We see it in our community here too. But yeah, there are so many vocal Jews who are fighting for this issue. I went to Harvard, and one of the things that people always are talking about now is, oh my God, it's so amazing that Harvard is standing up to the Trump administration and fighting back. But one thing that I think really ought to be said about this is when the encampments were happening at Harvard, a lot of the students took over that part of campus, and a lot of the student leaders were Jewish, and they stayed out there and fought for justice. And Harvard hated that, so they sent in the school authorities. They threatened them with expulsion, forced these students to leave. And as an alumni, I remember over the last 2 years, every single week we would get an email from the administration talking about how these students are being anti-Semitic, which is not true, right?
Right.
A lot of
they're
the student leaders
Jewish,
are Jewish,
and they're getting called anti-Semitic.
and they're
it's
getting
crazy.
called by the school. And so they had all of these emails saying there's anti-Semitism on campus. And now the Trump administration comes in. They're using all of those emails as evidence. See, you even admit there's so much anti-Semitism on campus. Now you got to hand over everything to us. Now you got to let us decide what you can teach. Now you got to let us decide who can come into these schools. So Harvard really brought all of that problem, all of these Trump administration threats onto themselves. And for that, they need to be called out.
Sure, yeah. I think right now there's so many people who, like, they see things going wrong and they're like, should I quit my job and do something completely different? So I'm curious, you were a civil rights lawyer, but something compelled you to run for office. Can you speak about that?
Yeah.
Why did you feel like doing civil rights law wasn't enough? You had to try to go into office.
It's the same reason I have gray hairs now at the ripe age of 28.
Oh my God, you're so young.
I am. And so I was very happy at the ACLU. It was my dream job. My family and I immigrated to the U.S. when I was 7, and I grew up advocating for my parents, and I went to law school to keep on advocating for my community. And so I loved working at the ACLU, just incredible people, incredible work. Then in January, these immigration raids began, and we filed our lawsuits. In April, we won, protecting the entire Central Valley from illegal immigration raids. And in July, we won a similar victory in Southern California, protecting Southern California from these illegal raids. But what was really shocking to me, maybe it shouldn't have been shocking, was that the Trump administration did not care. For them, a order from a federal judge telling them to stop was just a sheet of paper. And they kept the raids going, and they kept on tearing families apart. And it just really showed me that a lot of the normal guardrails of our democracy are no longer there. And, you know, the courts cannot be relied on to protect our people. And at the same time, I'm a leader in my county's rapid response network, which, do you know anything about?
No.
Okay, they are awesome. So these are groups of volunteers that are protecting their communities. And so what I do is I train some of our rapid responders. These are people who will go, when there's a raid happening, they will go into the communities where the danger is, warn people that there's a raid happening to stay inside, make sure people know their rights, deliver food to families who've been afraid to go work and go outside, and all of these things to protect their people. And these are all things that volunteers have had to step up and do because the state of California is not doing them. And one of the big reasons I'm running is because I see the legal system as very imperfect for protecting our people, and the state of California can be doing so much more to protect immigrant families.
So what's like a legislation that you would like to pass that could, you know, reduce or eliminate ICE raids?
A big part of why these raids are happening is very sinister. So, for example, I go into these detention centers about pretty much every month to meet with the people inside. And there's all sorts of people in there, right? There's farm workers, there's day laborers, there's people who've been here for 20 years who have, multiple U.S. citizen kids. One person that I'm very close with is one of our witnesses for a case. He's lived in the U.S. for 20 years, always worked very diligently, paid his taxes, married a U.S. citizen, has 4 young U.S. citizen kids. And he was picked up recently. And the way that these people in these detention centers keep in touch with their kids is they make phone calls. And these phone calls, they get charged $5 per phone call, around $5. And the way they make money in these detention centers is they work. And for a full day of work, they get paid $1. And so the people in there, right, the fathers who want to talk to their kids, they work a full week to make 1 phone call with their kids.
I mean, that's slavery. I don't know if you're allowed to say that.
It absolutely is.
I'm a regular person. I can say whatever I want. That's slavery.
Yeah. And the Constitution specifically says we're going to abolish slavery except for in prisons.
Right.
All of these detention centers are run by private for-profit prison companies, and they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars for every single person who's in there. Every single person. That's why these raids are happening. That's why they're not just going after criminals or people with criminal convictions. They're just finding anybody with brown skin.
Right.
Because they're looking for bodies to put into these prisons so they can keep on stealing from taxpayers.
That's crazy.
That's why these raids are happening, and what California needs to do is to shut these for-profit detention centers down. Take away that profit motive, take away that bad incentive, and protect our families, because families belong together. Immigrant parents belong with their kids, not in these for-profit prisons.
I'm going to make a big pivot.
Yes.
Housing is so expensive. What are you going to do?
It is too expensive. So I worked for 2 years in eviction defense and represented low-income folks against their slumlords. And there's a ton you can do, but what I think not a lot of other candidates for office talk about, partly because this industry is so rich and gives so much money, is we need to take on the housing industry. Again, the for-profit housing industry. When I was working in eviction defense, right, I would represent families, and there was one family I worked with. They lived in this building of 15 families, about 40 people lived in that building. A corporate landlord comes in, takes over that entire building, and raises rent by about 50%. And everyone in that building's freaking out. Then the Boston winter comes. It's very cold in Boston, as you might know. And landlord then shuts off the heat to save money on gas. And so this whole building was just frozen. When I went to visit my clients, they have a little daughter, and when I went to visit, she was under like 5 layers of blankets because it was too cold for her to get up from bed. And then we look into this landlord. He owns this. It's a person, but his LLCs. He has about 20 companies. Each of these companies own buildings just like that. So he's done the same thing to hundreds of families. He takes them over, doesn't make any improvements. In fact, he makes these buildings worse, and then he raises rent. These people have to be taken on. The housing market is being artificially inflated to be more expensive because investors are allowed to purchase homes, right? Homes should be for normal people, working people to live in. But private equity, these giant corporate landlords, these giant investment companies like BlackRock are able to purchase hundreds of thousands of homes and then charge people rent. So they're freezing people out of the market and forcing those people to pay them rent instead. These people need to be taken on. Right now in California, corporate landlords own more than 100,000 single-family homes, and that number should be 0.
A lot of people, when they come to this country and they work so hard, and the way that they build wealth and move up to the middle class is buying a house. Sometimes even buying a house that they live in and then having a rental property, what would you say to people like that are maybe hearing smears about you that, you know, you're against real estate or whatever?
That's such a nice smear to be thrown around about us.
Sure. Well, I mean, you know how these political commercials are. Oliver Ma wants to
end landlords. And we're like,
Yeah.
okay. Or if they make a video that's like, Oliver Ma wants to take on Zionism, we're like, please save us the money so we don't have to put that up
Oliver Ma wants children to live.
and get healthcare. Yeah. I rent right now. I have a landlord. He's very nice. Every time
Nice.
something's broken, he fixes it really quickly. I have friends who are live-in landlords. They, saved up, took on a mortgage. They live in the property, but they have roommates that they rent out to. Those people are fine. We don't want to go after those people. The real bad actors who are really inflating the market are these giant corporations that are buying up thousands and thousands of single family homes. And those are the people we want to take on.
You've defended immigrants. You've defended people getting bullied by their landlords. Have you defended trans people?
Not as an attorney, but as an activist and as a political candidate, I am. And I want to fight very vigorously for trans people and trans youth. There's one thing that's very important to us in this campaign is at our core, we just want to fight for justice, and we want to do what's right. And no matter how unpopular that thing is, if it is the right thing to do, we're going to do it, and we're going to say it. And trans people are under attack so much right now in a way that we haven't seen, at least in the last few years. And advocating for them, I think, is very unpopular among politicians right now. But for us, it's the right thing to do. And so we want to defend trans youths. We want to defend their ability to play on the sports teams of their choice. We want to defend their safety. We want to defend their access to healthcare and all of these things.
When you get elected, are you going to be working under Newsom?
No, Newsom will be gone.
Okay.
Doing his own Newsom things.
So you'll be running for lieutenant governor. Some other people will be running for governor. Do you team up or what?
We're on separate tickets. So
Okay.
It's not like president and vice president where you're like, the president will pick the running mate. It's separate elections, separate tickets, and whoever wins the governor's race, we will be working with them. And depending on who it is, we'll either be working with them or like
Pushing them a little bit. Yeah.
I was going to say something else, but
What were you going to say?
it's best.
Very cool. You believe in Medicare for all.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do as California lieutenant governor to try to get this federal thing passed?
It doesn't have to be federal.
Okay.
Yeah, so the lieutenant governor is president of the California State Senate, where they can co-sponsor legislation. And there has been years of organizing in the state for a single-payer healthcare system in California. And I think that's something California really ought to do. I was born in China, and when I was born, the Chinese life expectancy, so the average Chinese person, lived about 8 years shorter than the average American. And today, the average Chinese person lives longer than the average American. And China spends maybe 5% per person on healthcare than the United States does. And so what we really see in the US is we are spending more on healthcare than any other country and getting worse results. And in fact, our life expectancy is either flat or declining, depending on the data. And a big part of that reason is our healthcare system is for profit.
Right.
So I'll share this story. I have a fake tooth. Can you guess which teeth? I think it's pretty obvious.
One of the front ones, no?
Yeah, which one?
Yeah.
All right, that one.
That one. Yeah.
It is. You're right.
Okay.
You could be a dentist.
Wow, I can.
But this tooth is fake, and I injured it playing water polo growing up, and I went to the dentist afterwards because it was still hurting, and the dentist said, "Oh, it's infected." And I'm like, how much is it going to cost to get it fixed? And the dentist was like, I think it was like $500 or $800. I was like, I'm not going to spend $500 or $800 on a freaking tooth infection. I'm just going to take ibuprofen, wait for my body to fight it off, and save myself the money.
Tale as old as time.
It happens to so many people. And guess what? every year it would the tooth would swell up, and I would be like, oh, I'm gonna take more ibuprofen. And after 4 years, I had lost so much bone mass around the tooth that the tooth fell out. And so now I have a fake one. And along that process, instead of spending $500, $800 and, you know, 1 or 2 visits to the dentist, I've spent $4,000, $5,000. I've wasted hundreds of hours of my time, hundreds of hours of dentist hours. And if we had affordable universal health care, I would have gotten it fixed right in the beginning, when it was easy to fix, instead of wait and roll the dice on my own body.
So perhaps California could have universal health care, but then other states could still do for-profit model if that's what those states are doing.
And I think we'll very quickly show that California's system is better.
That rocks.
In many ways. My partner, she is from Alaska, and she works in Alaska in healthcare, health access. And I'm always dying to try to pull her to move to California. And one argument I make often is, if universal healthcare can be done anywhere, it would be California, because we not only have the wealth, but also the political will. And so that's something that I hope to be a part of in office.
Nice. The entertainment industry sucks right now. Got any plans for that?
The entertainment industry. You know, I actually don't watch a lot of TV or entertainment.
Sure. Well, I guess I don't know all the stats, but anecdotally, a lot of people are out of work for years on end who used to be staff writers, head writers, like people who have won Oscars for their work have been out of work for years.
Crazy.
And, you know, a lot of people eventually, they just have to move to wherever they came from. And it's kind of hard to tell, like, is California ever going to come back as a showbiz town in the way that it was, or is it just going to be dispersed to other states and other countries? Like, a lot of film and TV shows now, like, they're written here and then they film in like Eastern Europe. Okay. Like, they'll film in places where they can pay people a lot less, and also they don't have the worker protections that we have here because we have such good unions in showbiz. And I think that's why TV executives and film executives are punishing them for being in unions and going on strike, in my opinion. Yeah.
No, I think that's right. Do you think AI has a part to play in that as well?
Perhaps. I feel like I only really see AI used in like special effects, motion graphics to make jobs faster, and people will get laid off for that. But I don't think you're going to see like writers really get replaced by AI. Directors, I don't think will get replaced. I think it'll really be more like if you're using After Effects or Premiere, some of the tasks will be easier, so they'll need to hire less people.
Yeah, got it. Okay, that's good. I don't know much about AI either, but I've been getting invited to like AI conferences.
Oh, that's funny.
And they asked me to talk, and I'm like, I don't know what to say.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know much about the entertainment industry, but I do know about unions. I am a grievance officer with my union, and it's the same thing. Where a lot of jobs have been shipped, and it really just makes these employers and management more powerful against the unions and against the workers. So yeah, I think this might be controversial, but one way that I do agree with Trump is his tariffs, because tariffs were originally something that was introduced by Reagan, or not tariffs, free trade. And it's just about shipping our jobs overseas, making us part of this global capitalist economic framework. And it's caused a lot of harm to the U.S., especially among people who are working people. China took a lot of those jobs. And in the last 40 years, they lifted about 800 million people out of poverty. And so I don't agree with the way that Trump is doing his tariffs, but I think there is a place for tariffs to better protect workers and also strengthen unions along the way.
What are your gripes with how California is currently running things?
So many.
Okay.
so many.
Yep.
I think California does some things well, but it does a lot of things poorly. And this state has so much more potential. And for example, one thing, and this we see everywhere, right? It's a very democratic state, but personally, I have a lot of gripes with the Democratic Party. I am a Democrat, but I probably criticize the Democratic Party almost as much as I criticize the Republicans.
And you should.
Yes.
I feel the same. I always vote for Democrats because it's like closest to what I believe, but so often if you criticize anything, people will be like, how can you say that? You're going to make Trump elected. You know what I mean? And it's like, how are you going to get them to care about the issues you want without saying, hey, you're not doing a good enough job on this and that? So yeah, tell me more about criticizing the Democratic Party out of love.
Yeah, I mean, my campaign manager hates when you say this, but I didn't vote for Kamala last year, and yeah, heard a lot of the same things. But you know, the story I told you, right, about these for-profit immigration detention centers where people inside are coerced to work for $1 a day. These for-profit prisons then donate to politicians, and that keeps the raids going. That opens up more immigration detention centers, tears apart more families. And these for-profit prison companies donate almost an equal amount between Republicans and Democrats.
Right, yeah.
And I think that explains so much about why Trump is back, because you have on the Republican side a party that is attacking immigrants and saying immigrants are the cause of all of the problems in this country. And Democrats are trying to fight back and say, hey, actually, immigrants are not so bad. But they're fighting with one arm, saying immigrants are not so bad, and their other arm is tied behind their back by all these for-profit prison companies that they're taking checks from.
Right.
So if the other side is fighting with full force and you're fighting with one arm only, of course, then you lose. And that's why we have Trump, and that's why our immigrant community and so many other communities are now under threat and under attack. I think that's something that needs to change about not just California, but politics in general, which is this money in politics that causes our politicians to serve the interests of these corporations and these special interests rather than regular people. And that's why our campaign is only taking donations from regular people. And I think that's the right way to do politics, because it allows us to speak with honesty and with authenticity and with power on the issues that matter. And it served us well. We've raised $300,000. Every single cent we've raised comes from regular people. And so, you know, that allows us to fight for the right things and do the actual things that needs to change about California.
Right. And you can say what you actually feel. You don't have to be like, well, I don't want to offend this group or that. Yes. Yeah, something that really annoys me with like the Democratic Party and like Democratic strategists, like they seem very eager to try to get these moderate suburbanites to vote for them. They're not going to vote for them. Some of those people will vote for Democrats. A lot of these people are people who hold their nose and vote for Republicans because they don't want higher taxes. And I think when Democrats take money from all these donors and, like you said, they might say that they love immigrants, but they're taking money from detention centers. There's so many people who don't vote at all because they just say, look at these hypocrites. And people don't want to vote for hypocrites. Yeah. And so I wish they would stop trying to get these suburban moderates and get these people who usually stay home, these people who say, oh, I hate both parties. Oh, they're all full of crap. So how are you going to try to reach people like that, like people who usually don't vote, people who say that they hate both parties, people who aren't, you know, into politics? Like, I know later today you're going to a DSA meeting.
Yeah.
How do you reach people who aren't in DSA, who never vote, those kinds of people?
Yeah. And I think those of us in politics always overestimate how much people think and care about politics.
Yes.
People don't care and don't want to think about it.
Most people don't care. And again, I feel like that's the problem with the media, because like they assume every single person is on Twitter or Threads, like arguing about. Most people have no idea what's going on, and don't vote.
Yeah, and I'm running for office. I don't even know who my member of Congress is.
Sure,
it's either Mike Fong or Valadeo, but I don't know which one.
Yes, yeah.
And so regular people don't care, and so I think. So there's several things I want to say on this.
Mm-hmm.
One is, I think the overall mood of this country over the last 45 years has been very anti-establishment. And so you find that the candidate for change almost always wins, right? And that was Trump, that was Obama, that was Bill Clinton. And the reason is because wages have not risen for 45 years, while prices have, right? College, housing, healthcare, all of these things have gotten vastly more expensive while wages have not changed. And that's why, for example, life expectancy is flat or declining in this country. Mm-hmm. And so what a lot of voters are looking for, maybe not those suburban voters that you talked about, but pretty much everybody else is looking for a wrecking ball, because the same old politics that has been happening for 45 years under both Democrats and Republicans have not worked out for them. And so when you have Trump who comes and says, I'm going to bring radical change, I'm a wrecking ball, and your life sucks because immigrants are the problem, people listen to that because at least he's naming the problem.
Yeah, they'll give it a shot because it is different.
Whereas Democrats now are the party of the establishment, of that old system of free trade and all of these things that has been around since Reagan. And so instead, I think one thing that the party needs to do, and we're doing as a campaign, is to propose that equally anti-establishment message, which is the system has not been working for people. But the solution is not to demonize immigrants who are not the real problem in this country. The solution is to take on these corporations and these special interests who have done exceptionally well over the last 45 years by profiting and exploiting our workers and bribing our politicians and stealing taxpayer money. One huge misconception we want to fight in this campaign is the idea that regular Americans are getting handouts from these corporations or from the wealthy who are doing well. And it's actually the other way around. It's those companies and the wealthy are taking benefits and taking things away from taxpayers, from regular people, right? The detention centers is a great example. We are all paying taxes, and those taxes are going to these for-profit prisons.
That's crazy.
Israel's another example.
And like when do I ever hear about, I have never heard about this until talking to you, that Californians' tax dollars are going to for-profit detention centers that use, I'll say it, slave labor. Yep. That's crazy.
Exactly. And so it's really, politics has become this game where it's just about which politician can give the biggest slice of the taxpayer pie to their corporate sponsors. That's something that needs to change.
I also think, like, I have some friends who are veterans, and like when I talk to them, they'll just, and this isn't representative of all veterans, but they say, like, it was kind of a bummer to go over there. I don't even know what we were doing there. It probably would have been better if we didn't go at all. Again, I think most Americans feel this way. So like, why is the Democratic Party and the Republican Party saying we have to just bomb the Middle East forever?
Yeah.
I don't think most people want that.
Yeah.
But neither side wants to run on, let's stop doing that. Because
this for-profit defense industry profits from having these wars, right? The F-35, I think, that fighter jet, the 5th generation fighter jet, cost $2 trillion. $2 trillion overall.
That's so many dollars.
That's so many dollars, right? And it's a jet that's rarely ever even been used. And now we just had a contract with Boeing for a 6th generation fighter jet. So that's going to cost even more than this previous 5th generation fighter jet. That's all taxpayer money that's going to these companies to do what? To kill kids in the Middle East and break people's houses? Why don't we invest in houses and healthcare and kids here in our country?
And like, if we're going to talk about national security, making the world hate us from bombing them that's just going to lead to like more terror attacks potentially. It's so stupid and insane. It makes me crazy.
People typically don't like it when you bomb them.
They hate it. It's really a sad thing. And like something that I think is so crazy that I think not enough people know about is like you see these headlines about like Congress votes to give this many $1 billion to Israel. And then Israel uses that money to buy weapons from the United States. And I just feel like, why doesn't Congress allocate billions of dollars to repair bridges, to make roads, to make high-speed rail? Like there are these other projects that they could put their money into that would give us back money. Like I understand the argument that like weapons factories do create jobs for Americans, but that doesn't have to be what we make in our factories.
Yeah, exactly. One part of the California budget that I do love is the HEAL Act. And it is a pot of money set aside by the California government for local governments that divest from for-profit prisons, specifically for-profit immigration detention centers. So if a local government shuts down or loses 50% of the workforce in a immigration detention center in that city, then they qualify for this HEAL funding, which allows them to reinvest and actually reinvent their economy. Because what we see in a lot of these small towns is they bring in these for-profit prisons for jobs, but it ends up dooming the economic future of their city because young people and especially young people don't want to live in a prison town.
Yeah.
And no one wants to raise their kid in a prison town. And so all the talent from these cities are moving out, and eventually that's all this town is known for, is having a prison and nothing else. And the HEAL Act allows them to reinvest in new things. So I think that's really important. The other thing is I do see now why there is so much corruption in our politics, because this drive to fundraise when you're running for office is never ending. It is this pressure that is always on top of you. Last week, we drove 4 hours to a fundraiser hosted by a guy I've never met in person. And I was just thinking like, and we'll probably raise a few $1,000s from that fundraiser. And I was just thinking like, when I was an attorney, if some random dude came and said, I'll pay you money to drive 4 hours to come and do something,
what's the catch?
I would not do it. I would not do it. But now that I'm running for office, it's amazing how cheap my time has become. If I think someone has the prospect of giving me a few $100s, I will call them, I will wine and dine them, I will even sometimes feel this huge pressure to say whatever they want me to say just so that I get that check from them. And it's not even that much money. So I see why so many people enter into politics with good aspirations, with actual wanting to bring justice to their communities, and they get corrupted by the system.
I think it's really important that we get money out of politics. I think every single candidate should just be running from like donations from regular people. I don't think there should be corporations giving money to candidates at all. What are things that once you're in office, you can do?
Say it again.
Once you, Oliver Ma, are in office, what can you do to, try to get Citizens United overturned, or if not that, other ways to get money out of politics?
So I think Seattle is doing something really interesting where they give these tickets to citizens, and these tickets are worth like 25. I don't remember how much money. I think it's like $25, right? And citizens can give these tickets to the candidate of their choosing, and the state election board will then give that amount of money to the candidate. And so that's a way that candidates who actually reach out to regular people and regular voters and speak to them and what they need can actually fundraise. I think that's a good model. Obviously, I would say regular people can contribute a ton of money into our politics, right? You see that with the Bernie campaign.
Yes, yeah.
Where they're not taking money from these fossil fuel companies, from these for-profit prisons, but they were a monster at fundraising. So I think it is possible to fight back. And what I also say is there are ways to win without selling out and taking blood money. We see that with Zoran's campaign in New York City. And with our campaign, what we've noticed is when we speak with honesty, we can speak with power. And when we speak with power, then our message reaches a lot of people. And we don't need to spend millions of dollars on advertising. Right now on TikTok and Instagram, we get about 1 million views a week. And that's all free. We don't have to spend a single penny to get our message out there. And so my challenge to all the people running for office is when you are able to speak honestly and when you don't take money and say the things that these special interests and corporations want you to say, you might actually go a lot further and actually reach a lot more people. And it's the people at the end of the day who vote and who will get you into office.
I think social media is like so awesome for freedom of speech. And like you said, like getting a good message out for free. But personally, I get really worried about like the people that own these companies.
Yeah.
And like recently TikTok was sold for parts. Now it's mostly owned by Americans. And Netanyahu did a whole press conference saying he's so excited that now we have control of TikTok. Like he said this. This isn't a conspiracy theory. He literally said this. Like we need to win the war on information. And that's why we need our American friends to own TikTok. Is there anything that you would like to do or have plans to do in regards to these companies that own social media and are able to direct the conversation and really, when you think about it, make propaganda? Not everybody wants to use that word, but if a corporation owns a social media company and they're inserting their biases into it, to me, that's propaganda.
Absolutely. And we see it already. Every single video I make where I talk about Palestine gets flagged for like violence and gore or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can appeal that. And most of the time that appeal is overthrown. But by that time, the algorithm isn't going to show it to anyone.
Yes.
There was one video I made a few weeks ago where I did a hashtag Palestine, posted it for a day, got maybe 4,000 views. Next day, re-uploaded the same video, deleted that hashtag, and now it's at 400,000.
Exactly.
And so it is crazy the amount of power these social media companies and tycoons and oligarchs have over our society. And I don't think any entity who's unelected should have that amount of power over our society. So there needs to be accountability and there needs to be oversight. California is actually doing a decent job. We just passed a pretty big AI/social media law, and I think we need to continue doing that.
So Bernie and AOC, they did all of these rallies against oligarchy. I think the average person doesn't know what oligarchy is. Can you explain what oligarchy is, what an oligarch is, and who some of them may be?
Yeah, I don't like using the word because
it sounds too fancy.
Yeah, people don't really know what it is. I don't think we should be using words from other languages. Which I think oligarch is Greek, but I might be wrong. But
yeah, I would agree. Like you should communicate things in a way that's easy to understand. Yeah. And their point that we need to fight oligarchy is true. Mm-hmm. But if we need to then go, by the way, oligarchy means, then that's adding more steps.
I thought you were gonna. What does it mean?
Oligarchy. What is it? It's the rich business owners, corporatists, having influence in politics, correct?
Yes, I think so.
Like I think in China, like there's people who are rich business owners, but they're not allowed to have influence in politics.
Yes, Jack Ma, who is like the Chinese, I guess Jeff Bezos.
Okay.
I think he like did something really small where like he like lightly critiqued the Communist Party, disappeared for 2 years.
Oh my God.
I don't think we should do that.
No, but a lot of people would like it.
I don't think the government should disappear anyone. But I understand the hate towards these people. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they are oligarchs. I think we can call them pigs. I think we
Sure.
could call them. They're corrupting our politics. But they're right. Bernie and AOC are right, which is these people have way too much power in our society, and they're using it to their own benefits. They're using it to steal resources from the rest of us and making life harder and harder for regular people.
And like, sorry to go there, but like, Luigi Mangione killed a CEO and people weren't that bummed about it. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but like, more stuff like that is gonna happen if we don't crack down on corporate entities making people's lives hell.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much resentment, and one thing that I think we do need to do is point those resentments away from immigrants. First of all, I think we also need to point that resentment away from individual people, because I think for the left to win, we need to treat people with love and dignity and respect, even really awful people. I'm not a fan of Charlie Kirk, but I don't think what happened to him was right. And I think he's part of a very bad system that needs to be changed, a very bad system that twists people and corrupts people and incentivizes people to do evil. And what our campaign is doing is fighting to change that system.
I think you're totally right. Like, we need to change systems. It's not just about like individuals. And this is like another thing that annoys me about a lot of Democrats and liberals is that they hate Trump. Let's get rid of Trump. All the things that are wrong with this society aren't going to magically go away if Trump goes away. Like, all of the systems are going to still be in place. We're still going to be funding wars in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. We're still going to have a for-profit prison system. Mm-hmm. It's not like Trump dying of old age will stop that. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, Obama deported more people. I feel like he deported more people than during the first Trump administration, year on year. The second Trump administration might be a bit different. Obama did a ton of war criminal things in the Middle East and in other countries outside of the Middle East. So it's this broader system that needs to be changed. It is absolutely not just Trump. And I also think we cannot do this Republican tactic of playing into people's fears, because and that's, I think, what Kamala and the Democrats tried to do in 2024, which is to appeal to people's fears. Oh, Trump this, Trump that. And
they didn't say anything about healthcare. They didn't say anything about housing. Here and there they did, but there wasn't a sweeping message about here's how we'll make your lives better. Mm-hmm. And that's why people stay home.
Right. People are tired. When something is always giving them anxiety and making them feel disgusted, they tune it out. And so people stay home. And also, this message of fear is never one that we're going to win, because it is the people of color and the people who look different in this country who will always be the boogeyman in American society, has always been and will always be. And so when Democrats are playing into this message of fear, ultimately it's going to fall back on the shoulders of the people who have always been hurt in this country. We can't win this battle of fear. And so what we need to do is to propose something that's inspirational, that appeals to people's hope and shows people what a better society looks like, a society of justice and fairness where everyone can afford housing and healthcare and education.
You talked about Obama and some of his hypocrisies, but he is a terrific politician. He's such a charming guy. He's such a charming guy. He is. My friend Dina Hashem, she's a comedian. She has this joke about how Republicans are all con artists, but Democrats are con artistes. Like, they're pushing the same agendas, but they look nicer and
they do. They're
more charismatic. What are you going to do to be more charismatic?
Oh. I thought you were just going to leave it there, do your little crush on Obama, and then just switch to a different question.
No, I was going to tease you and also encourage you to, charm it up.
Okay.
Get a little makeover.
Yeah, I do, huh?
No, not really.
I think for charisma,
Well, Bernie's charismatic.
He is.
Yeah.
I think so much of charisma is just authenticity. And
Correct, yeah.
We see when people are speaking honestly. I think it's also compassion is very charismatic. That's so for us, we're not really thinking about what our posters are telling us, what our consultants are telling us. We're just fighting for the things that we believe in, and some people do find that charismatic, although you might not.
I find it charismatic. Well, that's awesome. I'm so excited that you're running for office. Free Palestine.
Thank you for having us. So excited about the show.
And how can people support you? How can they donate? How can they help your campaign?
Our website is oliverma2026.com. And you can just Google us and you'll probably find our website or find us on social media. What we really need help with from people is for people to sign up to volunteer with our campaign. We're not going to blast our volunteers with weekly emails asking them for money. What we're going to do is to train people to tell stories, train people to defend immigrants, train people to knock on doors. Because right now our campaign is reaching a lot of people on social media. We don't have to spend a bunch of money on ads, so we can use that resource to try to create a structure of lasting change in California. Obviously, we want to win, and I think we will. But even if we don't, I would be happy if we train thousands of volunteers who can help join the fight and who can bring lasting change to the state of California.
I love your platform. If you guys love Oliver's platform, tell your parents, tell your aunts, your uncles, your neighbors, tell every boomer, please tell them, because they're going to get wrong information. Tell them what he stands for, and I know he'll win.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Oliver Ma, everybody. Woo, clap, 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 clap.
And there you have it. That's my conversation with Oliver Ma. Google Oliver Ma to learn how you can volunteer for his campaign or donate or help out if you so desire. Thank you so much for watching this video. Like and subscribe and share and comment and do all that stuff. As they say, it really helps. Okay, bye-bye.
Later, sucker!